If you're waiting for life to improve all on its own, stop. Change doesn't come from waiting. It comes from what you do, every single day. The way your life looks right now is a direct reflection of your habits, how you act, how you think, how you show up, and how you respond when life challenges you. Feeling stuck, worn out, or mentally off track. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's because the habits you're living by aren't serving you. They're quietly pulling you in the wrong direction. But here's the powerful truth: you can completely shift the way you think, the way you feel, and the direction of your life, by changing the small things you do every day. Not someday. Today. This audiobook is about that transformation. It'll walk you through 10 practical, powerful habits that will rewire the way you think. These aren't abstract ideas. They're real tools. Simple, grounded practices that will make your thinking sharper, your emotions more balanced, and your actions more aligned with your purpose. You don't have to change everything at once. But if you just commit to one of these habits and truly live it, your life will begin to change. And if you embrace all 10, you won't even recognize the old you. Let's start with the first one. It's simple in theory, but life-altering in practice. Wake up with purpose and stop wasting time. Every day, millions of people open their eyes, roll out of bed, and step into the day without a plan. No clear direction. No specific intention. Just autopilot. It's not because they don't care, it's because they've never learned how much power lives in the first few moments of the day. That's where most people start losing, right at the beginning. Not because they aren't capable. Not because they don't want better. But because they treat the start of the day like it doesn't matter. And when your morning has no focus, your day has no edge. But imagine what could happen if you woke up like your time mattered. Because it does. Every morning is a chance that will never return. The minutes, the hours, they pass whether you use them well or not. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck. Intention. Waking up with purpose is about owning your time like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. You won't get today back. And that fact should shake something loose inside you. It should move you, not into panic, but into clarity. Life is time. Time is life. Waste one, you lose the other. The regret that hits the hardest isn't from failure, it's from not trying. From knowing deep down you let another day slip away without building something meaningful. Now, this doesn't mean you need to become a machine, doing more and more just to be productive. Purpose isn't about volume, it's about clarity. It's waking up with a reason. A personal mission. A decision to build, to move, to grow. It's saying to yourself, this is what I'm doing today, and here's why it matters. That level of clarity sharpens you. It gives your actions weight. It helps you say no to what doesn't align. It brings energy to your decisions and precision to your behavior. And it puts you back in control, not just of your schedule, but of your future. People who live without intention repeat their days like reruns. Same thoughts. Same routines. Same emotional loops. They wonder why nothing changes, but the answer is right there in how they begin their day. You want a different life? Start with how you start the day. Stop handing your time to distractions. Stop letting outside noise set the tone. Take back those first moments for yourself. For your vision. For your life. Because those who rise with purpose, who take even 5 minutes to set their aim, move through the world with a different energy. They don't drift. They decide. They don't snooze their alarm into oblivion. They don't reach for their phone first. They don't let the day pull them in 10 different directions before they even decide what they want from it. They move with clarity. With purpose. With inner fire. And that's what gives them their edge. Motivation fades. But a reason will carry you. That's the part most people miss. They think they need to feel inspired before they act. But it's the other way around. People with purpose take action, and the inspiration follows. You can't wait to feel ready. You have to become the kind of person who moves first, and feels later. So start asking yourself a better question every morning: what am I building today? Not just what's on your to-do list. Not what you have to get done. What are you building? What future are you shaping with your time today? You build confidence by doing what you said you'd do, even when no one's watching. You build resilience by tackling the thing you've been avoiding. You build your future by taking action your future self will thank you for. Purpose isn't some grand, abstract thing. It's a daily decision. A commitment to yourself. A choice to live today like it means something. Because it does. If you keep starting your day without a plan, don't be surprised when it ends like all the others. If you want change, you need to change how you show up in the first place. Start now. Not later. Not next week. Now. If you treat time like a gift, if you see it as something sacred, your whole perspective will shift. You'll stop being careless with it. You'll stop spending it on things that give you nothing in return. Even a small sense of purpose, getting in shape, managing your money better, growing a skill, improving your mindset, can radically alter your direction. Whatever you care about, tie it to your actions today. Because if it doesn't matter today, it won't matter tomorrow either. Don't live in the illusion of starting soon. Don't spend your life preparing to begin. Begin. Would you hand over your last dollar to someone who didn't value it? Then why give away your last hour to things that drain you? Your time is your most limited resource. Spend it wisely. Invest it in things that lift you. Actions that move you. Thoughts that sharpen you. And every time you use your time well, something amazing happens. You build momentum. Momentum builds progress. Progress builds confidence. Confidence shapes identity. But it all begins with how you use your mornings. So tomorrow, before you check your notifications, before you reply to anyone, sit still. Even just for a minute. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what matters most to me today? Not what's screaming for your attention. What matters? Write it down. Focus. And move with purpose. This is how you become unshakable. You won't always want to do it. That's okay. Purpose isn't about ease, it's about discipline. It's doing what's right, even when it's inconvenient. That's how habits are formed. That's how identities are forged. If you want to be strong, start choosing strength. If you want to be focused, start eliminating the noise. And if you want to change your life, start by owning your mornings. The truth is, success isn't a mystery. It's consistency in the right direction. Waking up with a reason. Honoring your time. Keeping your word. Day after day. That's the real formula. Simple. But not easy. That's why most people don't change. They want the results, but not the rhythm. They crave the outcome, but not the process. But you're not most people. You're here because you know it's time to rise differently. You've delayed long enough. Made enough excuses. Settled enough times. This is your moment. Wake up with purpose. Act like it matters, because it absolutely does. There are people who need you to become who you were meant to be, even if they've never said it. Your future depends on what you do now. So tomorrow morning, give yourself a clean slate. Start earlier. Think clearer. Move like your time has value. And start the shift, one habit at a time. Plan your day before the world has a chance to pull you away from it. Before your feet hit the ground, before your phone lights up, before the outside noise starts creeping in, you need a plan. Because once the world has your attention, it won't give it back easily. That's the reality of life right now. The second you start your day without clear intention, distractions take over. Notifications buzz. Messages stack up. Demands multiply. And suddenly, your entire day is being directed by everything except you. And the sad part? Most people don't even realize it's happening. They live in a loop of reaction. Wake up. Check phone. Scroll. Respond. Panic. Repeat. They move through their day handling what's urgent, not what's important. And that's how people stay stuck, busy but not better. Planning your day is how you take back control. It's how you stop living by accident and start living by design. It's the pause before the chaos. The moment where you sit down and say, here's what matters today. And here's how I'm going to show up for it. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need fancy productivity apps or color-coded calendars. All you need is clarity, and 5 quiet minutes with yourself. In those 5 minutes, you identify what truly matters. You pick your top 3 priorities. You carve out time for deep, meaningful work. You build in space to think. To breathe. To focus. Because when you plan, you stop guessing. You stop scrambling. You already know what deserves your energy, and what doesn't. That's power. It's not about having every second accounted for. It's about starting with direction. When you plan your day, you create a framework for peace. You create a filter that helps you ignore the noise. You remind yourself what the day is actually about. Without that clarity, everything becomes urgent. Every message feels like a fire. Every interruption becomes a detour. You spend hours putting out tiny flames, and end the day wondering why nothing meaningful got done. But when you sit down, even just briefly, and look at your day through the lens of priority, the whole experience changes. You don't chase your day. You lead it. Here's a powerful truth: planning reduces stress. Most of the pressure we feel isn't from the tasks themselves, it's from trying to remember everything, all at once. The mind gets overwhelmed when it's juggling too much. But writing things down, that frees up space. That lets your brain focus on solving problems, not storing them. When you give your tasks a home, on paper, on screen, wherever, you give your mind room to think clearly. You build structure. And structure brings peace. You might think, I'm not a planner. That's fine. You don't need to be naturally organized. You just need to be honest enough to admit that your current approach isn't working. And bold enough to try something better. Ask yourself, what 3 things, if I accomplished them today, would move my life forward? That one question shifts your energy. It sharpens your thinking. It teaches your brain what to prioritize. And when you do it daily, it becomes second nature. Planning your day also protects your time from things that don't matter. Because if you don't set the plan, the world will set it for you. And trust me, its plan doesn't care about your growth. Its plan is chaos. Noise. Distraction. But your plan? That's your compass. That's what keeps you steady when life starts spinning. Here's another shift that comes from planning: discipline. When you plan your time, you start treating it with respect. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the right motivation. You just follow the schedule. You show up for what you committed to, because you already decided it was worth your energy. That kind of follow-through builds mental strength. It turns vague intentions into real action. It turns scattered thoughts into consistent progress. It turns, I'll try, into, I did. And that's what creates confidence. Not hype. Not positivity. Discipline. The quiet knowing that you can count on yourself. And that kind of self-trust. That's everything. Now, let's talk about something else that planning helps you do: build habits that last. Because here's the truth: habits don't stick just because you want them to. They stick because you gave them a space in your life. A time. A place. A specific moment. I want to journal more doesn't work. I'll journal for 10 minutes at 7:30 p.m. does. That's what makes the difference. Not motivation. Not good intentions. Clarity. Because clarity creates consistency. And consistency rewires your mind. When your day is planned, you don't have to spend energy deciding what to do next. You already know. You just follow the plan. And that frees up mental bandwidth for better thinking, deeper work, and real growth. So take a look at how your days are currently going. Are you leading them? Or are you reacting to them? Are you building something? Or just surviving through the noise? If your answer makes you uncomfortable, that's good. That's where change begins. Start small. Each morning, or even the night before, take 5 minutes and ask, what are the 3 most important things I want to accomplish today? When will I do them? What distractions need to go? Who do I need to check in with? What can I say no to? That's it. Do that every day, and something inside you will begin to shift. Your focus sharpens. Your time stretches. Your mood stabilizes. You stop ending the day wondering where it went. And you start ending the day with clarity and pride. Most people never do this. They let their days blur together. They chase, they react, and they wonder why they feel stuck. But you don't have to live that way. You can take 5 minutes in the morning to set the course. That one move puts you ahead of 90% of people. Because the truth is, success doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most intentional. You don't need to feel overwhelmed by your goals. You just need a plan for today. When your days are directed, your mind is focused. And when your mind is focused, your life begins to transform. So tomorrow, before the noise arrives, pause. Get quiet. Pick your priorities. Write them down. And begin your day not by reacting, but by choosing. That's how you move from survival to strategy. That's how you stop spinning your wheels and start steering your future. That's how you take back control, one clear plan at a time. The way you speak to yourself in silence matters more than you realize. Every single day, there's a voice running inside your head. You might not always notice it, but it's there. Commenting, judging, interpreting everything you do. And for many people, that voice is not a friend. It's a critic. It's harsh. It's impatient. It tears down more than it builds up. And here's the dangerous part, we've gotten used to it. That self-talk has become so normal that we barely notice it anymore. But it's shaping how we see ourselves. It's shaping how we act, what we attempt, and what we give up on before we even try. Imagine this. If someone else spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, how long would you keep them around? Would you tolerate someone calling you lazy, dumb, incapable? Would you accept someone constantly reminding you of your past failures? Would you keep a friend who rolled their eyes every time you had a dream? Of course not. But we let ourselves say those things every day, and we believe them. Because when it comes from our own voice, it feels like truth. It's not. It's just a habit. A dangerous, invisible habit. But like any habit, it can be changed. If you want to build real confidence, not fake positivity, but deep, grounded confidence, you have to start by changing how you talk to yourself. You have to talk to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply care about. Someone you believe in. Someone you respect. Because here's the truth, you can't grow while tearing yourself down. You can't build courage on a foundation of self-shame. You can't become stronger by constantly reminding yourself of your weakest moments. The relationship you have with yourself is the foundation for everything. It's the lens you see the world through. And if that lens is cracked, everything else looks distorted. You don't need to lie to yourself. You don't need to pretend you're perfect. But you do need to be fair. You've made mistakes. So has everyone. You've failed. Good. That means you've tried. You've struggled. That's part of being human. You're still here. You're still fighting. That alone deserves respect. Start giving it to yourself. This isn't ego. It's not about puffing yourself up. It's about speaking with compassion and encouragement when you need it most. The same way you would support a friend, a child, or a teammate. Because that voice inside your head, when trained properly, can become your most powerful ally. It can pull you out of doubt. It can calm you down in chaos. It can push you through pain. But only if you retrain it. Start paying attention to the words you whisper in your own mind. When you make a mistake, do you say, "I'm so stupid," or do you say, "That didn't go well, but I can learn from it"? When you're struggling, do you think, "Why am I like this?" or do you think, "This is hard, but I've overcome harder before"? Those shifts may seem small, but they're everything. They shape your identity. And your identity is what drives your actions. If you keep repeating to yourself that you're undisciplined, eventually you'll believe it, and behave like it. But if you remind yourself, "I'm becoming more disciplined," then even when you fall short, your next move is forward, not backward. We all slip. We all fall. But the difference between staying down and getting up is often in the words we speak to ourselves right after we stumble. Stop allowing that inner critic to run your mind unchecked. It's time to build a new habit. One thought at a time. This doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It means you become constructive. Honest, but kind. Direct, but supportive. When that inner voice says, "You'll never get this," you counter it with, "It's taking time, but I'm learning." When it says, "You always fail," you replace it with, "I've failed before, and I still got back up." When it whispers, "You're not enough," you say, "I'm growing every day. And that's enough for now." This is how you rewire your mind. This is how you shift your beliefs. Not with fake positivity, but with truthful encouragement. Think of how you'd speak to a child learning to walk. You wouldn't yell at them for falling. You'd cheer for every step. You'd tell them, "You've got this." You'd pick them up and say, "Try again." That's how you need to start talking to yourself. Respect isn't just for the outside world. It starts in your own thoughts. And when you learn to give it to yourself, you stop depending so much on approval from others. You stop waiting for someone to tell you you're worthy. You stop chasing validation. Because now, you're rooted in something deeper, your own truth. Your own voice. And when that voice is steady, calm, and clear, nothing outside can shake you. There's this myth that being hard on yourself makes you disciplined. But that's not discipline. That's damage. Discipline says, "I hold myself to a high standard because I know what I'm capable of." Disrespect says, "I'm not good enough, so why even try?" One builds you. The other breaks you. Real mental strength doesn't come from shame. It comes from structure, consistency, and respectful self-correction. So next time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, what would I say to someone I loved in this moment? Say that. Let that become your inner voice. Speak like someone who wants you to win. Speak like someone who believes you're capable, even if you don't have all the answers yet. Speak like someone who sees the progress, not just the problems. This habit, of kind, honest self-talk, isn't optional if you want to grow. It's essential. Because at the end of the day, you spend more time with your thoughts than anyone else. And if those thoughts are destructive, it doesn't matter how much praise the world gives you, you'll still feel empty. But if those thoughts are encouraging, focused, and respectful, you can keep going even when no one else sees your progress. You become your own support system. Your own coach. Your own source of belief. You're not always going to get it right. Some days you'll fall back into old ways of thinking. Some days the doubt will creep in louder than usual. That's okay. What matters is how you respond. Do you let it spiral? Or do you stop the thought, and speak a better one? That's the work. And over time, that work becomes who you are. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be real. And real means respecting yourself, even when you're struggling. Talk to yourself like someone who matters. Because you do. That's how transformation begins. One word at a time. One thought at a time. One new belief at a time. There's a moment, a small window, that appears every time you're about to do something important. It could be starting a workout, sitting down to focus, picking up that book, or sending that message you've been putting off. And right then, just before you act, your mind will try to stop you. It'll whisper, "Do it later. It's not urgent. You're tired. You've earned a break. Now's not the right time." That voice sounds logical. Comforting even. It wants to keep you safe, keep things easy, keep you in the familiar. But don't be fooled. That moment is not a signal to wait, it's a test. And what you do in that tiny window, the split second where your brain says, "Let's delay," will decide everything. Most people lose this battle, not because they're lazy or weak, but because they trust that voice. They think it's protecting them, guiding them, being reasonable. But that voice isn't logic. It's hesitation dressed up in comfort. It's resistance disguised as caution. And if you keep listening to it, you'll build a life of almosts. Almost started. Almost finished. Almost changed. You'll stay stuck, not because you don't know what to do, but because you keep postponing what you already know. So here's the rule that changes everything: when your mind says wait, you move. Not later. Not when you feel ready. Now. Even if it's just one small action. One step. One sentence. One click. Just move. Because action breaks the pattern. Motion creates momentum. And momentum is how you beat resistance. You don't need to do it all. You just need to start. Starting is the hardest part, and once you're in it, the energy comes. The motivation comes. The feeling you were waiting for shows up after the action, not before. Think about how many times you've delayed something that could have been done by now. That workout. That conversation. That project. That commitment. How different would your life look right now if you had just taken action when the moment showed up? Hesitation is a silent thief. It doesn't take your dreams all at once, it chips away at them slowly. One, not today, at a time. And before you know it, the life you could have built turns into the one you settled for. But the opposite is also true. Every time you move when your brain says pause, when you lean into the discomfort instead of away from it, you prove to yourself that you're in charge. You build something stronger than motivation. You build discipline. Discipline is the habit of showing up when it's not convenient. Of doing the work even when it doesn't feel good. Of taking the next step without waiting for the stars to align. And every time you do that, you send a message to your brain. I'm not the old me anymore. You become someone new. Someone who acts, not just thinks. Someone who starts, not just plans. Someone who finishes, not just fantasizes. That's where confidence comes from, not from hype or results or praise. It comes from seeing yourself follow through. It's built in the quiet moment where you say, "I don't feel like it," and then do it anyway. This doesn't mean you never rest. It means you rest when it's time to rest, not every time something feels hard. There's a massive difference between taking a break and running from the work. One restores you. The other weakens you. Your brain will always look for the easy way out. That's its job, to keep you comfortable, to avoid pain. But comfort isn't where growth happens. Discomfort is the price of progress. And once you learn to sit with it, something powerful starts to shift. You stop being controlled by the urge to delay. You stop needing to feel perfect. You stop waiting for motivation. You move. And that movement builds a new identity. Every time you take action in the face of resistance, you reinforce the belief, I'm someone who gets it done. You don't have to do it fast. You just have to do it. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to begin. You don't have to know all the answers. You just have to stop stalling. Because delay creates pressure. Avoidance builds mental clutter. Tasks feel heavier the longer they're left undone. And all that weight sits on your mind, even when you're doing other things. You're not just procrastinating. You're exhausting yourself with what you're not doing. But when you act, that weight lifts. You feel lighter, clearer, sharper. You make room for what's next. Don't underestimate the power of that first step. That email you send. That call you make. That first push-up. That one focused minute. It starts a chain reaction. Because action isn't just about finishing tasks. It's about changing your relationship with yourself. Every step you take says, I trust myself now. Every delay you avoid says, I'm done playing small. Every moment you choose motion over hesitation says, I'm ready to live different. You will be tested, again and again. You'll hear that voice telling you, it can wait. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can listen to it, like before. Or you can recognize it for what it is, resistance. Fear. Inertia. And you can act anyway. Because here's the truth, your future isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the micro decisions. The moments where no one is watching. The moments where quitting feels justified. The moments where your mind tells you later, and you say now. That's the battle that matters. That's the moment that shapes who you're becoming. So the next time your brain starts negotiating, starts giving you reasons to push it off, don't argue. Don't debate. Don't sit with it. Move. Even a small action breaks the cycle. Take the step. Make the call. Write the line. Open the file. Hit play. Stand up. Whatever it is, start. Because the longer you wait, the more you teach your brain that hesitation wins. And the longer hesitation wins, the harder it gets to move. But once you start, once you act faster than your excuses, you begin to rewire everything. Delay loses its grip. Excuses lose their power. And action becomes your default. You stop living in someday and start living in now. And now is the only place anything ever changes. There's something powerful about finishing what you start. Not just starting with excitement, but finishing with intention. Anyone can begin. That's the easy part. Energy is high. Motivation feels fresh. Ideas come fast. But it's the follow-through that reveals who you are becoming. Finishing isn't just about checking a box, it's about becoming someone who honors their own word. Someone who doesn't quit when things get hard or boring or inconvenient. Someone who sees things through. That's where real change happens, in the middle. In the drag. In the discomfort. When the spark is gone and only your discipline is left. Most people give up long before the end, not because they're incapable, but because they've never learned to push through the middle. They get bored. Distracted. Pulled into something new. And the thing they were building. The project, the routine, the promise, gets left half done. Half built. Half finished. And that pattern becomes a habit. A mindset. An identity. Every unfinished task sends a quiet signal to your brain, we don't follow through. And over time, that belief settles in. You start seeing yourself as someone who doesn't finish things. Someone who gives up halfway. Someone who needs to feel inspired to complete what they start. But here's the truth, inspiration is overrated. What you need is consistency. The habit of showing up. The muscle of closing loops. The discipline of doing what you said you'd do, whether you feel like it or not. Because when you leave things undone, they don't just disappear. They sit in your mind like clutter. Open loops. Quiet pressure. The email you didn't send. The room you didn't clean. The task you paused for now. The call you promised to make. The journal entry you skipped. The reps you cut short. The story you never finished. They weigh on you. They steal your clarity. And they take up mental space that could be used to build momentum. You might tell yourself it's no big deal. That you'll get back to it tomorrow. But the truth is, most of those tomorrows never come. And unfinished work becomes unfinished potential. So start treating your tasks, big or small, as a commitment to yourself. If you open the loop, close it. If you start the chapter, finish it. If you begin the habit, stick with it. Not because someone's watching. Not because there's a reward. But because it sharpens your integrity. Finishing becomes who you are. And that identity creates power. Because when you know you finish what you start, everything changes. You walk into new challenges with calm. You hold yourself higher. You trust yourself deeper. That's the kind of self-respect that doesn't come from talent. It comes from completion. You don't need to finish everything in one day. But if you say you'll do it today, do it today. If you plan to clean your space, clean it fully. If you said you'd work out, push to the last rep. If you opened your laptop to work, finish the block you scheduled. If you promised yourself to write, don't stop mid-sentence and call it good enough. Follow through. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. That's when it matters most. That's when the real growth happens. You'll be tempted to stop. You'll hear the voice that says, good enough. You'll want to pause and deal with it later. That's when you push. That's when you remind yourself, this is the standard I set. Because how you do one thing is how you do most things. If you let yourself off the hook in the small areas, it spills into everything else. But if you push yourself to finish, even when it's hard, you build a kind of emotional grit that can't be shaken. You become someone who doesn't let go of their focus when things get messy. Someone who doesn't lower their standards because the energy wore off. Someone who doesn't stop halfway and try to convince themselves that it counts. Because it doesn't. Not really. Finishing matters. Even the small things. Especially the small things. Because that's how trust is built. That's how character is shaped. That's how you upgrade your inner dialogue from, I hope I follow through, to, of course I follow through. You begin to carry that mindset into conversations. Into projects. Into relationships. Into everything you do. And slowly, without even noticing it at first, your whole life starts to reflect that new identity. Tasks aren't heavy anymore because you know you'll complete them. Plans don't feel like pressure, they feel like promises you intend to keep. And that loop of finishing becomes momentum. Momentum becomes progress. And progress becomes power. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be steady. One finish at a time. One full circle. That's how you move forward without dragging yesterday's leftovers into today's plan. That's how you stop living in fragments. That's how you clean up your headspace, by closing the loops that don't belong open. So here's the mindset, if you start it, you finish it. Not perfectly. Not dramatically. But completely. This is how you free yourself from mental clutter. This is how you gain back the energy you didn't even know you were losing. This is how you move with peace, because you're no longer being followed by the ghosts of half-done tasks. And over time, finishing what you start doesn't feel like effort. It feels like identity. If you want peace, clarity, and the strength to stay consistent, you need to learn one simple word: no. Not out of anger. Not out of fear. Out of self-respect. Because every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to the things that truly matter. And the more you do that, the more your energy fractures, scattered across tasks, people, and habits that don't give anything back. You start your day with a limited amount of energy. And whether you protect it or give it away determines everything. Think about it. How many times have you said yes just to avoid conflict? To not seem rude? To not let someone down? How many conversations have you had that left you feeling small? How many notifications have pulled you out of focus? How many obligations have you carried, not because you chose them, but because you didn't say no? Energy doesn't just come from sleep or food. It comes from alignment. From honoring your boundaries. From choosing wisely what you give yourself to. When you spend your time on things that drain you. Negative people, mindless routines, endless distractions, you don't just feel tired. You feel heavy. Disconnected. Numb. That's not burnout. That's energy mismanagement. And the cost? Your goals get buried under commitments that don't reflect your values. Your peace drowns beneath conversations you shouldn't be in. Your clarity fades in the fog of too many open tabs, too many half-hearted obligations, too many quiet, yes, you didn't mean. But here's the shift. You don't have to live this way. You can start protecting your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Say no to what doesn't grow you. Say no to what doesn't nourish you. Say no to what feels wrong in your gut, even if it looks okay on the surface. This isn't selfish. It's strategic. Because the people who protect their energy are the ones who stay focused long enough to build something real. Saying no creates room. For rest, for creativity, for healing, for deep work, for alignment. It gives you space to remember what you're building. And without that space, your priorities will always get buried beneath other people's demands. You can't be available for everything and still expect to be excellent at anything. Focus is a choice. Peace is a boundary. Clarity is earned through subtraction. So take inventory. Where's your energy going? Who's asking for your time without offering value? What habits feel comfortable but leave you feeling empty? Start being honest. Because every moment you allow something that drains you to stay, you give away part of your life you'll never get back. You don't owe anyone your energy. Not if it costs your health. Not if it drains your vision. Not if it disrupts your peace. And guess what? People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. People who don't, will expose themselves the moment you set one. That's not your loss. It's your clarity. Saying no also strengthens your focus. Because now, your attention isn't diluted. It's directed. You're not bouncing between things that don't matter. You're locked in. Aligned. Effective. And that kind of focus? It's rare. It's powerful. It's magnetic. Because in a world full of noise, the person who knows what to say no to is the one who actually builds something meaningful. Here's the pattern: most people aren't exhausted from doing too much. They're exhausted from doing too much of what doesn't matter. Endless notifications. Unnecessary meetings. Drama-filled conversations. Energy-sucking habits. It's not that they don't have energy, it's that they're wasting it. You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You don't need more motivation. You need less clutter. You don't need more hours in the day. You need to reclaim the hours you've been giving away to people and patterns that are stealing your power. And that starts with a strong, unapologetic no. Not a no filled with guilt. Not a no followed by over-explaining. Just a clear, steady no. Because your peace matters more than people-pleasing. Your focus matters more than fitting in. Your goals matter more than appearing agreeable. This is how you take back your life, one boundary at a time. Ask yourself, what conversations leave me feeling drained? What habits waste my time and steal my clarity? What patterns am I repeating out of guilt, not alignment? What am I saying yes to that deserves a no? This isn't about becoming hard or distant. It's about becoming honest. Your energy is your responsibility. You can't blame others for what you allow. If something drains you, you either change it, leave it, or protect yourself from it. But you don't keep tolerating it. Not anymore. You've got work to do. You've got a future to build. You've got strength to cultivate and clarity to maintain. You need your energy. Every drop of it. So start treating it like gold. Guard it like it's sacred. Because it is. This is how you build a life that feels good, not just looks good. One where your energy is aligned. Your time is respected. Your soul is at peace. So from now on, when something feels wrong, don't suppress it. Don't explain it away. Don't swallow your own needs just to be nice. Listen to the feeling. Honor it. And say no, clearly, kindly, and without apology. That one choice changes everything. If there's one habit that quietly shapes everything, your clarity, your confidence, your ability to grow, it's this: learn one new thing every day that sharpens your thinking. Not occasionally. Not when it's convenient. Every single day. Because your mind, like your body, needs exercise. It needs challenge. It needs nourishment. And if you don't feed it with growth, it begins to decay. That decay doesn't happen all at once. It's slow. Subtle. You start repeating the same mistakes. Reacting to life instead of responding. Getting caught in the same patterns because you haven't learned anything new to break free. You don't get sharper by chance. You get sharper by choice. And that choice looks simple: read a few pages of a great book. Watch a thoughtful video. Reflect deeply on a meaningful experience. Have a real conversation with someone who thinks differently than you. Ask a better question. Seek a better answer. It's not about collecting random facts. It's about choosing knowledge that shapes the way you live. Because the more you learn, the better you think. And the better you think, the better you choose. And your choices are what shape your life. Learning builds mental muscle. It teaches you how to separate noise from signal. It shows you how to spot patterns. It trains you to pause before reacting. It gives you tools when pressure hits. And most importantly, it protects you from stagnation. When you stop learning, you stop evolving. You operate with outdated strategies. You hold on to beliefs that no longer serve you. You stay trapped in cycles you don't even recognize, because your thinking hasn't been updated in years. And that's where frustration grows. Not because life is against you, but because your mindset hasn't grown fast enough to meet life's challenges. But you can change that, starting today. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to memorize a textbook. You just need to commit to one insight a day. One principle. One truth. One perspective that makes you pause and think differently. It could be something you read. It could be something you hear. It could be something you notice while reflecting. But every time you do this, you shift something inside. You break a limit you didn't even know was there. You sharpen your awareness. And awareness is your advantage. It helps you spot the real issue in a conflict, not just the noise. It helps you prepare for what's coming, instead of scrambling after it arrives. It helps you move with confidence, not because you know everything, but because you trust yourself to learn anything. That's the power of daily learning. It's not about being the smartest in the room. It's about never staying the same person from one week to the next. Growth becomes your identity. And when learning becomes your habit, clarity becomes your gift. Here's what most people get wrong: they think learning stops after school. But the real education begins after the diploma. Life doesn't reward you for what you already know. It rewards you for how quickly you can adapt, adjust, and apply. And you can only do that if you're feeding your mind with new tools. Read the book, even if it's just 5 pages. Watch the documentary, even if you don't finish it all. Study the leaders who've already done what you want to do. Reflect on yesterday and ask, what did I learn from it? Learning isn't about speed. It's about consistency. And that consistency creates transformation. Over time, you won't just notice that you know more, you'll notice that you handle life differently. Your reactions become responses. Your assumptions turn into questions. Your fears lose their grip because you understand them now. You won't be triggered by everything because you've trained yourself to think beyond the moment. That's what daily learning gives you: perspective. It lifts you above the chaos. It gives you breathing room in tough situations. It makes you steady in a world that wants to rush you into decisions. It makes you powerful without needing to be loud. And it builds something else too: confidence. Not fake confidence. Not the loud kind. But the real kind, the quiet certainty that says, I may not have all the answers yet, but I know how to find them. And that belief, that changes how you walk into every room, every challenge, every opportunity. Because now, you're not showing up hoping you'll figure it out, you're showing up knowing that you're becoming someone who always learns, always grows, always levels up. That mindset is rare. But you can build it. One idea at a time. You don't need hours. You need intention. Start simple. Pick one thing to study today that feeds your growth. It could be about discipline, focus, business, relationships, health, creativity, mindset, anything that improves how you live. Feed your brain like your future depends on it, because it does. Your next level isn't waiting in more motivation, it's waiting in more mental tools. And the more you learn, the less you'll fear the unknown. Because you'll know you're ready for anything. Not because you've seen it all, but because you're wired to adapt to whatever comes. That's the superpower. And it's built, not born. So from this day forward, commit to this simple rule: no day without growth. No matter how small, how tired, how distracted, something gets fed. A few minutes. A few lines. A few questions that make you think deeper. That's how you evolve. That's how you stay ahead, not of other people, but of your past self. One insight a day. That's the habit that sharpens everything. When your mood starts slipping, when everything feels heavy, unclear, or slow, don't wait to feel better. Move. That's it. Move your body. This simple act. Just standing up, stretching, taking a walk, shifting your posture, can be the exact switch you need to reset your entire mental state. You don't need to understand the science behind it. You don't need the perfect routine. What you need is to remember this: motion changes emotion. When your energy drops, when your thoughts spiral, when you start drowning in overthinking or frustration, don't sit in it. Move through it. You'd be surprised how many of your emotional lows aren't permanent. They're physical. Your body gets still. You stop breathing deeply. You sit for hours in the same position, feeding the same thoughts, on the same screen, in the same room. And you wonder why everything feels heavier than it is. You're not broken. You're just stagnant. Your body isn't separate from your mind. It's one system. What you do with one affects the other. You slouch. Your mood drops. You shrink your posture. Your confidence dips. You sit still too long. Your clarity fades. But if you move, even a little, everything begins to shift. Your breath deepens. Your blood starts flowing. Your thoughts get interrupted, just long enough to invite something new in. And you remember, you're not stuck. You're just idle. Low moods rarely hit out of nowhere. They build, slowly, through inactivity, silence, isolation, and a lack of motion. And the best way to break that cycle? Not with a quote. Not with a video. But with a step. Literally, get up. Walk. Stretch. Go outside. Move your arms. Breathe deeply. Change your environment. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. You don't need a plan. You need a decision to take action, before your emotions harden into your reality. Because the longer you sit in a bad state, the more it begins to feel like your identity. And that's the danger. You start to believe the thoughts that only showed up because you were still too long. I'm tired. I'm lost. I don't care anymore. I can't focus. I'm not okay. And those thoughts stick. But here's the truth, you're not always tired. You're unactivated. You're not always stuck. You're motionless. You're not always hopeless. You're just disconnected from your body. But the moment you move, the chemistry shifts. You interrupt the loop. You remind your system, we're not frozen, we're alive. You start feeling again. Thinking again. Functioning again. That's the gift of movement. It doesn't solve every problem. But it prepares you to face them. It's the foundation for a better decision. It's the reset button we forget we have access to, right now, in any space, at any time. People underestimate this habit because it seems too simple. But simplicity is where the power lives. You don't need to wait for the mood to improve to take action. You take action to improve the mood. That one shift in mindset, that you create your state instead of waiting for it, changes everything. Next time you feel off, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, when was the last time I moved? And fix it. Stretch for 2 minutes. Walk around your room. Step outside, feel the wind on your skin. Do a few squats. Swing your arms. Shake the tension out of your shoulders. Move in any way that reminds your body it's not frozen in fear or fatigue. Because physical motion triggers mental motion. And mental motion brings emotional clarity. It clears the fog. It softens the stress. It reduces the noise. And from there, you can think again. You can focus again. You can move forward, again. Movement builds more than mood, it builds resilience. The more you train yourself to respond with motion instead of reaction, the less power your bad moods have over you. You stop being controlled by them. You stop waiting for inspiration to act. You become someone who acts first, and lets the emotions follow. That's emotional discipline. That's mental strength. And it's built in those small moments where you choose to move instead of spiral. Here's the habit, don't wait for the feeling to lift you. Lift yourself, with a step. A stretch. A breath. A shift. Do it when you don't want to. Especially then. Because those are the days that shape who you are. The days you don't want to move, but move anyway. The days you feel stuck, but take the smallest action. Those are the defining moments. The more you practice this, the more automatic it becomes. Movement becomes your response to discomfort. It becomes your weapon against overthinking. It becomes your anchor when everything feels like it's spinning. And over time, your body learns that stillness doesn't mean stuckness. It means a chance to pivot, to rise, to reset. And you learn that strength isn't just about pushing through, it's about interrupting what pulls you down. So today, if you feel off, move. If your mind feels heavy, move. If your energy feels low, move. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. Don't scroll. Don't complain. Move. And let that movement remind you, you still have power. You still have control. You still have the ability to shift. One step at a time. When the day winds down, when the noise fades, the work stops, and the world gets quiet, there's one question you need to ask yourself: what got better today? Not, was I productive? Not, did I finish everything? Not, did I feel amazing? Just, what improved? That question will change how you live. Because it shifts your focus away from perfection and puts it where it belongs, on progress. See, we live in a world obsessed with outcomes. With goals. With metrics. With trophies. But the truth is, real change rarely looks like a giant leap. It's a small shift. A better choice. A calmer response. A decision made with more intention than yesterday. And unless you stop to notice it, you'll miss it. Worse, you'll feel like you're failing when in reality, you're growing. Every single day, you are either reinforcing the person you've always been or building the person you're becoming. And unless you pause to reflect, your days will blend together into a blur of activity with no sense of direction. This is where people lose momentum, not because they aren't making progress, but because they're not tracking it. They can't feel the growth because they're not looking for it. That's why this one question matters so much: what improved? It brings you back to center. It reminds you that growth doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be consistent. It teaches you to see what's working, so you can keep doing it. And it builds your identity, not around performance, but around awareness. So before you go to sleep, don't just scroll or crash. Check in with yourself. Ask, where did I show more patience? What did I do today that I normally avoid? Did I choose discipline over comfort, just once? Did I stay calm when I would have snapped? Did I follow through on even one thing I promised myself? That's the growth you're looking for. That's the fuel that keeps the fire alive. Because the truth is, without reflection, you lose the story of your transformation. You forget how far you've come. You overlook the changes that are happening quietly beneath the surface. And when that happens, you fall into the trap of thinking nothing's working, when in fact, everything is shifting. You just haven't slowed down long enough to see it. Reflection is what gives your effort meaning. It's not about judgment. It's not about shame. It's about awareness. Did I grow today? Even just a little? If yes, be proud. If no, make a small adjustment. And either way, keep going. This habit doesn't need to take an hour. It can take 5 minutes. A few deep breaths. A journal entry. A quiet moment of honest thought. But if you make it a ritual, every night, you'll begin to move through life with more clarity, more confidence, and more control. Because now you're not just living. You're learning. You're not just doing. You're understanding. You're not just grinding. You're growing. The alternative? Living in autopilot. Repeating the same cycles. Reacting to the same stressors. Forgetting what matters. You don't want that. You want to wake up with focus. And to do that, you need to go to bed with closure. You need to know that even if the day wasn't perfect, it was meaningful. That even if you didn't get it all done, you got something important done. That even if you slipped, you're still moving forward. That is how transformation happens. Not by avoiding bad days, but by learning from all of them. Good or bad. Big win or small moment. It all counts, when you reflect. This also builds something most people don't have: emotional accuracy. You stop judging your day based on how it felt, and start judging it based on what it meant. You stop thinking, today was pointless, just because it was hard. You start realizing, that was one of the most important days, because you kept going anyway. That's real strength. That's wisdom. That's momentum. So don't let another day end in a blur. Look back with intention. Ask what improved. What got clearer? What felt stronger? What decision reflected who you want to become? This isn't pressure. It's purpose. It's the practice of making your growth visible, so you can keep building on it. And over time, this one habit, this 5-minute pause, will do more for your mindset than most books, courses, or plans ever could. Because now you're not hoping to grow. You're tracking it. You're learning from it. You're owning it. And that ownership, that's how you build a life you're proud of. One evening at a time. If you want real change, deep, lasting transformation, you don't need more hype. You need habits that stay with you long enough to become part of who you are. Because the truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the strength of your systems. And those systems, they're built on what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. That's where most people go wrong. They try to change everything all at once. They expect transformation to feel fast, exciting, and effortless. But real growth? It's none of those things. It's slow. It's subtle. It's uncomfortable. It's not about waking up one day with a brand new life. It's about showing up, day after day, until the new life you're building becomes your default setting. That's what this final habit is about. Stick to the good habits until they feel natural. Not for a week. Not until it gets hard. Not until you get bored. Until they're automatic. Until they're embedded into your daily rhythm. Until you don't have to think about doing them, you just do. This is the breakthrough. Not the first day you start something. But the day it stops feeling like a chore, and starts feeling like a part of you. It doesn't happen in the first few reps. It happens in the repetition. At first, the habit feels foreign. You resist it. Your mind fights it. You tell yourself stories, this is too hard. I'm not that disciplined. I'll never stick to this. That's the discomfort of transformation. That's your old identity pushing back. But if you stick with it, past the resistance, past the friction, something clicks. It becomes normal. Brushing your teeth. Locking your door. Charging your phone. You don't think about these things. You just do them. Your habits can reach that same level. But only if you don't quit too soon. You can't build a lifestyle on willpower alone. Willpower gets you started. Structure keeps you going. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer decisions. You need fewer excuses. You need a default plan that says, this is just what I do now. People talk about identity shifts like there's some magical moment. But identity changes when behavior becomes consistent. You become healthy by eating well and moving often, long enough for that to be who you are. You become disciplined by following through. Long enough that quitting feels off-brand. You become confident by keeping your word, long enough that self-doubt stops feeling like home. That's what you're building here, a system that pulls you forward when inspiration fades. And it will fade. You will have days where everything feels like a struggle. You'll have days where nothing goes according to plan. You'll mess up. You'll miss a day. Maybe even a week. That's okay. What matters is how fast you come back. Not if you fall, but how you rise. Most people miss this. They miss one day and decide it's over. They throw away a whole habit because of one mistake. But the ones who grow, they don't make it a story. They make it a reset. One bad meal doesn't ruin your health. One missed workout doesn't erase your progress. One unproductive day doesn't erase your momentum. Just pick it back up and keep going. Because consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up again and again until it feels more natural to do the right thing than to avoid it. You'll know the habit has clicked when you stop negotiating with yourself. You don't need to ask, should I? You just do it. That's the goal. And the path there is repetition. Not flashy moves. Not massive overhauls. Just quiet, daily commitment. You don't need to feel good about it every day. You just need to keep doing it until it becomes who you are. It might take weeks. It might take months. But eventually, it sticks. And once it sticks, it stays. The effort becomes easier. The routine becomes reliable. And the identity becomes real. You're not forcing it anymore. You're living it. That's how transformation happens. So whatever good habit you're building, stick with it. Track it. Protect it. Prioritize it. Return to it. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because those are the moments that define whether this habit just passes through your life, or becomes a permanent part of it. You've made enough promises to yourself that you didn't keep. Let this be the one you honor. The one you keep showing up for. The one that changes the game, not because it's exciting, but because it's yours. Built through discipline. Reinforced through repetition. Protected through setbacks. And sealed through time. This is the new you. Quiet. Grounded. Powerful. Not chasing change, but living it. One decision at a time. One day at a time. One habit at a time.